Okay, hi guys, and welcome to this review of the A7 hybrid monitor earphones. These are quite an interesting set of earphones in that they are a hybrid driver configuration consisting of one dynamic driver, 4 balanced armatures, and 2 what they call piezoelectric ceramic drivers. The combination of such drivers, the reason you would want to do something like that is that you get the benefits of each driver's inherent properties in each part of the spectrum. So for example, in the low end, a dynamic driver delivers that sort of low end grunt quality, deeper sub-bass response and more impact. Whereas a balanced armature through the mid-range is going to provide more clarity and detail. And also you're not going to be stressing your drivers to the point where if you've got a single driver earphone, it has to be a very high quality driver to handle everything that's going on by splitting it up into different sections and allowing each driver to handle specific aspects of the sound. You're going to be getting the better performance theoretically, because there has been a lot of companies that has messed this up over the time, especially in the early days of I believe it was the JVC were one of the first to do hybrid style earphones. So with this one, you have the multiple driver set up on the inside, but you also have a lot of customization that you can do to the earphones in respect to tuning the sound for your own preferences. This is done through 2 ways, and technically a third way that we'll get into in a little bit of time. But if you can see just here, you have a switch at the top that says pop and monitor. And you can slide this back and forth left to right. You need to get a really small pin or something that you can switch it from one side to the other, but you have a monitor setting and you have a pop setting. Monitor setting is going to be your more flatter response curve, subdued bass, and general just flatter curve. Whereas your pop setting, it seems to be more sort of V-shaped with slightly enhanced highs and slightly enhanced lower end. But you can further adapt the sound via the use of these are filter tips which screw in and screw out of the headphones. I'm just going to go ahead and take off camera. I'm going to take the left earpiece here. So you can see here you have the black filter tip installed, and all you do is unscrew that. You can see inside the driver housing, and then say you wanted, I find the silver tips to be a more balanced neutral one, and actually if these are set to monitor, yep, you can see it's set to monitor and silver. This is actually my preference for a more critical listening setup, because I find it has a very linear response through the lows into the mids. There's not much of a transition, and there's a lot of detail throughout it. So the final way that I guess you could change the sound on this, and it's really dependent on you and how you get on with different tips and so on. I tend to just choose the tips that give me the best seal possible, and use my DAPs to adapt the sound around that. But some people like to what's called rolling tips. So you can use like the foam filter tips, the heavy silicone tips, or the spin fit tips, and that will give you some variances in the sound. Some people say it mutes the highs, mutes the lows, increases the bass, and so on. But really the 2 ways that you're going to adapt the sound is this switch and these filter tips. So we'll get into the sound in a little bit, but first of all I want to talk about the build quality and the accessories. So accessories are pretty standard. It's not going to be something that you're going to want to have a reason for buying it, but you do get this really nice leather or faux leather case. and it's a good size. You're going to be able to get your earphones inside and some extra tips, and you know, everything can go in once, and it is a hard shell design, so that's good for, you know, keeping it safe if you've got it in the backpack or something. Next up, cable. Cable is fantastic on this. I'll take the little Velcro hook off. Cables from China have been getting really, really good recently. I remember years ago when I used to buy lab cable cables from, I think they were from Japan. And you know, those cables were hundreds of dollars, and they're very much, the Chinese included cables are, I think if you can see the way, one of the most important things for me is just the way that a cable sort of flows and bends. There's no resistance, there's not really a lot of memory in it, and if I pick it up, you can see that there's no tangles. This is one of the most important things. It's a 8 braid into 4 braid here. It's got metal splitter, it's got this little plastic cable slide, and it's got a metal jack point with a straight 3.5mm plug, and MMCX adapters on the end, so cable breaks, switch out your earphones, and you're back to listen to your music. So cable's excellent. The actual build quality of the headphones themselves is absolutely fantastic. It's an all metal body. It's got this one seam that runs around it, and it's got these grills which I don't think are functional, but it adds to the aesthetic. You know, you get the blue for the left and the red for the right. And I just think they're a really, really well-made set of earphones. If I grab, I think I have the Audio Monarch here. So LZ have taken a very different approach to the design. There's another multi-driver earphone from Audio, and you can see how much smaller that is. And being all metal, it's actually better made. Now, these are beautiful looking earphones, but there's something about this aesthetic that is really nice. It's kind of reminds me of the old hi-fi equipment from the 80s and 90s. So they've done a really good job. It's nothing too impressive, but you know, solid, well made. Accessories, lots of ear tips, cable, housing. The case is, it looks kind of cool, but it's junk. It's just held together by glue. I mean, it's a cool sort of cheap wooden thing, so at least they've gone a little bit extra effort, but it's kind of janky. So if we go into sound, there's obviously a lot of different setups you can get from this, having the different filter tips, having the different the different switches on. It's going to give you a lot of versatility, but I'm just going to talk about the two main ones that I prefer. So as I said, I like this setup, which is the silver tip with the monitor switch on. Silver tip with monitor switch on, very neutral, very inoffensive, very flat response. Gives you a really good experience. Lots of detail. It has a sort of enhancement in the highs, which leaves them very open and airy with very good decay, which tends to lead to a larger sounding soundstage, or the appearance of a larger sounding soundstage, which is, you know, the treble has that effect to make an earphone sound something grander just because of the open airy side of it. It's very detailed, and as I say, it's straight through. Very little enhancement between the the low end and the mids, and even just maybe that slight extension into the treble, but there's no sibilance on this earphone, which I find is fantastic. The second setup, the one that honestly I use 90% of the time, will be the black tips or the black filters, and I will have it on the pop setting, and I find that that gives slightly more warmth. It's more of a V-shaped signature, so you get more enhancement in the low end, a little bit of sparkle on the top end, and the mids sit a little bit back from that. It's just a more fun, engaging kind of sound space. You can go more bassy with it, with the other filters, but I find that this gives a good balance of sort of impact combined with not bleeding into the mid-range, not becoming too much of a dominant focus of the sound. I find it works really, really well. Matchability with, you know, here I've got the X-Duo XP2 Pro and the Yunlumi A2. Works great out both of them. I've got the Shanling M6 there, and you know, even just out the phone, straight out the phone with a jack adapter, these sound cracking. So excellent sounding headphone, really, really, really nice. I've already gone over the 10-minute mark that I've set myself for all these videos. I swore I wasn't going to make 20-30 minute reviews, but from now on I'm going to try and keep them under 10 minutes. But excellent headphone, excellent for the price. Just another brilliant earphone coming out of China, and just way, way, way ahead of, you know, what's on the market in the West just now. Yeah, so fantastic, highly recommended it, and we'll get on to the next review.